Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Rolling Stories, the HR podcast brought to you by Rolling Arrays. And today we'll be talking about HR within a very interesting and unique industry, which is the retail industry. Of course, every industry has its own set of challenges, and the retail industry is no different in this regard because faced with distinct HR challenges that weigh on the entire sector and the majority of brands within it. So, in today's conversation, we are very happy to welcome HR veteran within the retail industry, Li Yi, with us today. Welcome to the show,
Thank
Li Yi.
you, Adrian, for having me on the show.
Could you give us an idea of how you actually got into the retail industry? And also, importantly, how did you even get into HR?
Before I share a little bit more about myself, maybe just a bit of background on Yuan, which I think is a household name to most people. You see us in the malls with the clinics and with the retail stores. So Yuan is a leading health and wellness company, right? And we are very much with PCM wisdom. Well, our products, our services. We are 144 years old, so very steep in heritage. And so for us, we have, I know you all have seen in the malls, we have clinics, we have retail mall. And overall, we have our presence in Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia. And on the global side, we also have outreach into 35 countries of America, Canada, Australia, and a lot of other countries. So for us, basically, we have been, how should I put this? Basically bringing people in from the recruitment point of view, general, the Gen X, the Gen Y, the Gen Z, and we recruit store people, warehouse staff, production staff, and we basically has a array of customers as well, basically from babies all the way to the elderly as well. So for us, basically, this is very interesting company for me, Joy. So I've been in the company for 4 years already. And like your question is like, how did I get into HR? So I graduated with a Bachelor of Business, specializing in HR and from NTU. So it was a natural career path after graduation to go into HR. And in my early years, I was fortunate to join a conglomerate and I was exposed to different industry, automotive, insurance, travel. And later on, I was actually moved or followed my ex-boss into retail. And thereafter, I began my career in retail for all these years. So in the last, I think, 20 over years, I've worked in mainly FMCG retail chain store. And so when Yuan Sang's opportunity came about, it was a very exciting journey because Yuan Sang was embarking at that point in time, a transformation journey. So that's why it attracted me to move out from my comfort zone of a company that I was working in for 9 years to join Yuan Sang. And now I've been serving Yuan Sang for 4 years already.
Wow, that's a long time. Firstly, a discllaimer, I'm a member of Yuan
Thank
Sang.
you so much for supporting us.
You're most welcome. But I have no idea that Yuan Sang is such a giant. The reach is so wide and across so many different countries. My typical perception would be, oh, maybe Singapore, a bit of Malaysia, a bit of the region, but the reach is really far extending. And I would like to move on to the industry per se. Now, retail industry, there are, of course, some perception, there may be some misconception, some stereotype. So I'd like to address the elephant in the room. Now, typically, I think most people may bucket it together with to some extent, the F&B industry, because there are some
Yes.
commonality there. It's very frontline. It's quite tough. You have to probably be standing most of the time. So it's quite hard work. And I personally have done retail before. One of my job just before national service was selling
Okay.
under Lux Asia. I
Lux
still remember
Asia.
I was doing it for Calvin Klein. Yeah. But as a young person, it was okay lah. Stand there 8 hours. After that, still can go party, go dinner with my friend. No issue. But as age comes in, I realize, wow, sometimes go to some exhibition now, or even go traveling, walk for 1 hour, need to find a chair to sit down. But of course, those are some of the perception that people may have about how tough retail industry is. And I think I would really love to hear from the horse's mouth. Maybe you also have some perception, and perhaps you can also help us to dispel some of the misconception about the retail industry at large.
Yes, indeed, there are misconceptions for retail and also HR as well, right? For retail, it is definitely very dynamic. and long hours that we all can see. And like you say, the standing piece. So that's where we also take care of our people. Some has that mission of caring for mankind. So that actually is a very strong tenet that the way we do things, right? Be it our HR programs, be it the way we run operations. So we're providing chairs, rest area for our retail store clinics stuff to rest when there's no customers. So those are things that, the little details are taken care of as well. In terms of rostering, so will also be the very much of trying to fit people's schedule into it as well, paying people properly, right? And also all these are stem from our mission of caring for mankind, that we wanted to take care of our people, that when they work with us, they feel like it is also we are a caring employer, which is very important to us. Now, the misconception, I would say maybe I move a little bit more into HR. So for HR, I think it's very transferable. So I've worked in different industry, from the hospitality, attraction, leisure, and retail, of course, is where all this stint is. And like you said, it is very frontline, it's very service oriented. So I suppose for HR in a retail, it's also very much about serving, taking care of people. And HR, in some people's mind, is easy, it's very administrative. But that's actually a misconception, because for HR, you want to do it properly, it can be just keeping the lights on, or you can scale up it, coming out designing program to take care of people, right? So there is science behind HR as well. And then when we marry science in retail and HR, then we look at, hey, what makes sense to put HR's concept into a retail setting, right? So those are the things that I think is misconception, that, oh, retail is easy. It's just standing there, smile, serve customer. HR is easy. It just do payroll, it just recruit anybody, hands and legs, which are not true. We talk a lot about fit. Do they have the right fit into the culture? Do they have the right skill set to serve? And for us, because we are TCM, our products, our services, so you really need a lot of specialized knowledge on product, because we are a health and wellness company. So all these are very pertinent, important, and so it's a bit different for Yuan Sang in our product and our services versus other retail product and services where I came from. So that's where the distinction is. So it's not so simple.
There is definitely some depth to and sophistication to the kind of product that Yuan Sang is carrying. You cannot just it's not it's not like selling perfume lah.
Yeah.
In a way, you can't just say, "Oh, this one smells nice," and doesn't smell nice. I'll move
Yes.
on. And I would like to hear from you. How would then Yuan Sang goes about talent
Mm.
attraction? Because the retail industry, I would say to some extent, to the F&B, anything that is frontline in
Mm.
nature, seem to be in a fix for the longest time in trying to attract
Mm.
talent, right?
Mm.
Because people do not want to go to a retail industry. Everyone want to have a cushy office job. And of course, the pandemic also brought about a lot
Mm.
of changes
Mm.
as well. And to the extent of not perhaps letting out your secret sauce or secret recipe, what are some of the things that you believe your company or HR is doing in order to have that impact, to draw the differentiation for potential talent to consider and to give Yuan Sang a
So maybe I start off with the recruitment piece, right? So I'm not sure if you're aware, but basically for us, we actually provide financial assistance to NTU graduates or undergrads rather. So we have to date, we have actually extended about to 480K, above 480K to 18 undergraduates, providing them financial assistance for those who are enrolled in NTU for the double degree on biomedical science and Chinese medicines. So that is a 5-year course. And of that, the last 2 years, they will actually go to Beijing University to study and actually
Hmm.
graduate with a degree in Chinese medicines, right? So from that, so that's the part on the piece on that recruitment. Then we also on every year recruit about 2 to 3 scholars from NTU. So that piece in terms of the recruitment for our clinic business. And of course, along the way, we also to continue to make sure that our people are of really strong caliber. So they actually have a 50-hour CET. We call it CET as in continuous training and education hours to ensure they are really, very knowledgeable. And then internally, they also have internal case discussion, right? As you have handled patients, there will be cases of some adverse effect or maybe near misses. So there will be all this peer learning that's happening as well, right? So for us, I think that sets us apart very much when it comes to our clinic business. Our physicians are really very credible, very knowledgeable
Mm.
colleagues of ours. Of course, when it comes to recruitment of other segment of the population, staff population, it goes very much into, I think, the fit and the passion for the brand. Now, I introduce a lot of science basically in HR when it comes to recruitment. Again, we pack it at different levels. Say, for example, at senior level, we use psychometric tools as well. That's where the science comes in. We have CPI 260, we have Hogan, genetics, MBTI. And that's for be it recruitment or some of the tools I use for development, for them to learn about self-leadership, team leadership, organization leadership. And these are all basically curate with modules curated, and it forms part of our special program and part of our succession planning as well. And then for, of course, the continuous day-to-day training will be, of course, on the job training, our product training, which is very unique to us, right? For our retail store. And of course, in retail, we all know customer service is so important. So that's key, right? Selling is also very important, right? How do you basically, we are still very much into introducing the right product to our customer to meet their needs so that our customers basically can have accessible, good quality health and wellness product for their health, right? So that's something that's also part of what we always said, we care for mankind, which extend to making sure we recommend the right product to customers. So then, of course, if you talk about warehouse productions, colleagues, then of course, it's very much on those technical trainings and going to like list, how do you operate the machines and things like that. And so all sorts of trainings, I would say, in terms of how we want to build out our people. Retail is very dynamic, very fast trending, very fast moving. And how do we then bring our people along with us so that they don't get left behind? I think that's probably one of our differentiation, that we want to care for our people. First, of course, we're recruiting to ensure that they have passion. We develop them. We engage them as well. So the employee journey is very key to us. Like my HR team, basically, we focus on 3 milestones of the employee journey, from people joining, how can we have a buddy to help them sit in, how do we customize orientation program to make them feel that, hey, it's not a new strange place that I got to struggle, but that I can really settle down very quickly. How do we have a portal whereby information are there, staff can pick up information and not get lost, especially for new staff? How do we operate like friends, that kind of stuff? And who are your go-to people, your directory if you need help? Right? So those are the care that we extend to people who join us. And of course, the care behind all our other programs like Town Hall, of course, we have to communicate the company's direction, where we are, right? Then we have employee engagement surveys, pulse survey that we check in to hear our people, right? And of course, we have focus group to hear them, coffee session, whereby my boss would also do meet up with them. We have meeting for new joiners to have luncheon or breakfast with my boss as well. He take time himself to meet with them, because to us, all these are very important. And they are really like our employees, like we said, are the greatest asset to the organization. And that's probably the way we can demonstrate in how we take care of them.
I'm reminded of something I believe Sir Richard Branson said, which is to take care of your employees so that they will naturally take care of your customers. And I hear a lot of that over during this discussion, because it's just things after things that help the employee to not just acclimatize well, to make it an attractive magnet for talents to look at, but also to help them grow. Has that always been the case since day one, or was it something that you have to put in a new initiative to reach this current point?
So I think when I joined 4 years back, I must say that there are certain things that are in place, right? So I suppose in the last 4 years, I have put in new programs. I have tightened certain stuff. So there is definitely credit to my predecessors who have put in place structures as well. So it's just in the last 4 years is a lot of refreshing, refinement, and strengthening. And because we were in a transformation journey, like I shared, right? And so that there's a lot of things that we were doing to really get our staff excited as well and to move together with us in this transformation journey.
And one of the thing, of course, I hear about transformation journey, more so from the employee side, is as much as transformation has a good angle to it, but I think people being people, most of us don't like
Mm,
change. And even if it's for the
mm,
betterment of the company for
mm,
themselves, how does Yu Yan Sang address that, especially when you may have certain people who are so invested or been in the system for so
mm,
long that they're just so accustomed to the old way of
mm.
doing things, even if the old way has expired yesterday. So, what are some of the mediation, some of the rectification or remedial steps that you take to it? And which also segue to my other question, some of the unique challenges and opportunity that HR faces within the retail.
So I think communication is very key, right? We know how tough communication is. You may have the best intention, people may not understand you, or people may misconstrue you, right? So I suppose we have definitely put in like a lot more frequency on town hall. There were town hall before, but I suppose COVID, I must also thank COVID for that we pivoted a lot to digital. Right. So previously, say for example, town hall is very much in country. So with
Mm,
COVID, people are more accustomed that we can hold meeting cross border online, and now we can even have enterprise town hall. So it become like a hybrid model whereby we have in person for those in Singapore, and then we have colleagues who are in Hong Kong, Malaysia, tuning in, and so we have enterprise town hall. So those is like one example whereby, like you said, how do we get people to change? So communication, reaching out to them is one form, right? Small groups, of course, focus group meeting, coffee session, for them to share and we hear. And we actually report back. Yeah? Say, for example, after focus group meeting, all their whatever was mentioned is taken down, notes, followed through, and periodically when there's progress, it is reported back to employee. And we actually make a very deliberate effort to do this, to tell them, look, we are not a management that is say only and do nothing, right? NATO, right? So we actually will go back to them and say that, look, this is what you guys have told us. And these are the progress. Of course, there are things that we can't do. And we'll be very upfront to tell them, sorry guys, we really can't do this, right? But we will try to improve in other forms or work around it. Yeah. So that's for us is a demonstration of our sincerity, sensitivity, that we really take their interests, take their views, and how can we work better to improve their life and improve the business, and then how we can communicate and let them see that this is real. It's not for sure. Right. So I think through action, I think people will be convinced, and that I think will break down, like in what you said, the resistance, and people will see that, hey, what's in it for me? And also we also work very hard to improve the psychological safety of our people. So when people feel safe, and then we also tell them, look, we have programs whereby people can suggest improvement, and they are the best person to really tell us where are areas for improvement. And we take all those things into heart and we seriously look into it with committees and look at that and we report back again, right? So it's a continuous journey of improvement that we want to involve in our employees. So it's not just a management say so kind of culture, but we want to hear them. We want to partner with them and journey with them.
And how do you measure some of this impact and effectiveness of your HR initiative and programs, especially new
Mm.
ones? What are some of the recommended key metrics or indicator that you would suggest anyone who might be undergoing similar journey or earlier part of your current journey to look at in order to better measure their current?
So I suppose there's no silver bullets for HR. Things has to take time to run in. So for us, we track our performance via, of course, employee engagement score is one. And we're actually quite happy to report that we actually jumped double digit in our engagement score in the from the last round to the current round. Our EVP, employee value proposition, how what are the comments made in public, and then we look back last time what was said and what are the recent back. So we see that it's also more positive, right? So to us, those are indication that we are doing things correctly in the right direction. Of course, retail being staff turnover is also very high generally if you look at it. So I must say, when there's the phenomenon of the great resignation, right? I was quite happy to say that we didn't face that, right? We were really quite
Hmm.
stable within. So those again are indication. Of course, I think all HR people will know that we have exit interview. That's also one of those process. And then when we look at the reasons for people leaving, why are they leaving? Are there areas for improvement? So again, those reasons, some are very common. Some are reasons that we couldn't do anything about it, but then we accept it. Or there are areas that we can improve, we will improve on that and give feedback and stuff. So to us, staff turnover definitely is like one number metric that that HR people
Hmm.
are always very used to. So to us, these are indication that we are fine. We are in the right track, on the right.
Given your understanding of the retail industry at large, do you have an idea of what is the average attrition rate in the market and where you?
Oh, I've been tracking retail. How should I put this? Okay, in DOS, the Department of Statistics, they will actually put in wholesale and retail trade as one line of certain
Hmm.
over. Then again,
Yep.
there's retail and there's retail, right? Let's see, there's luxury retail, there's also the FMCG retail. So again, the recruitment of the different candidates into the company would be very different. So again, the similarity or if you use the turnover, may also if you use turnover as a common metric, it also may not be that representative, especially now it's mixed with wholesale. But from what I recall, many years back, retail was at like even 40 something over percent to now 20 over something percent in the Department of Statistics. So for us, we are below that. So that's all I can share.
Percent is
That
really
was many
crazy.
years.
So just to
That
give you a
was many
sense,
years, I must
yeah.
say.
So to give a sense to all the listeners, is every 10 people you hire, eventually 4 will leave,
Mm,
lah, which you can imagine how much one
yes.
has
So
to.
that's why it's so important to really treat our people well, that people will feel that affinity, the connectedness with the business. They will want to love our brand. They will want to work happily, really, in the stores. Not
Hmm.
easy, I must say, because every staff will
Hmm.
have their different needs. Yeah. So again,
Yep.
how do we try to meet the needs of our employee? We can't meet 100%, but we will try to meet as many as we
And I think it's really a no-brainer, right? Given the conversation here, happy employees basically means happy company as
Yes.
well, because happy customers
Well,
means happy
mm,
company. And recently, I came across a short article by this guy who is with Dr. Wealth. He basically curated 10 companies who are on best place to work,
mm,
of course, based on certain
mm,
benchmark because employees are happy,
mm,
etc. And he benchmarked those 10 companies against S&P 500.
right.
And he realized basically what his very short study shows, happy companies has about 10%
Mm,
improvement in terms of, but at the same time, we often read stories in the news about, oh, this employee got missed and all that. In your opinion, why do you think many business owners or perhaps some managers don't just apply this by default because it just seems so much like a no-brainer? Why do you think that is the case? And what do you have any message or advice for them to rethink this whole thing?
I think there are definitely a variety of managers, right? And again, depending on individuals' experience, their learnings, who they get their role model from to be successful. I think all this has how it impact on how they treat people. Lah. So I have this story that my friend ever told me, which was very interesting, quite cute lah, I must say. So we call it a a mother-in-law syndrome. Okay, I hope I won't offend any mother-in-law, but anyway. So they actually say it's the olden days, right? If you look at all those drama and all those stuff, right? The olden days whereby the matriarch, the mother-in-law, would really not treat their daughter-in-law so well. So when the
Mm,
daughter-in-law next time become a mother-in-law, she will say that, hey, I was treated that way, and I need to treat my new daughter-in-law the same way. So it becomes a very vicious cycle until one daughter-in-law decides that, hey, I don't like to be treated that way, right? And I want to be treated nicely. So I must treat my new daughter-in-law nicely, right? To break that cycle.
mm,
So I think what is important is to pivot. So like they say, explain people the goodness of treating people well, helping to grow with
mm,
people. And and then when we continue to treat people well and people receive it, then we change that cycle as well. And I think and then it will continue education, role modeling, demonstrating, exhibiting what is the right behavior, the right value. I think that would basically put us in the right situation, right? So I think sometimes it's exposure, the opportunity to
mm.
also test out. So it's not a straightforward answer. It's pretty complex because human beings are not that straightforward as well.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I do hear a lot of stories where people just inherit what were given to them, be it their background, their functional family, and they feel that, oh, I'm just like that. I can never
Mm,
change. But the truth is, one
mm,
can. It's just you have to hunker down and look at things from a different perspective. And importantly, do what is
yes.
right, not just do what have been
Yeah.
imparted with, which I do see a lot. I mean, they some of our sergeant were also quite horror, and to them they say the same thing. We were treated that way, so we treat you this way as well. But honestly, what's the point
Mm,
behind it? Besides stroking ego. And moving ahead, I would also want to understand, given the fast-paced and dynamic nature of the retail industry, how do you personally keep yourself up to date on the latest trend development, especially on the HR
mm,
aspect? Because one of the things that often get HR to talk about is, oh, okay, the importance of L&D and all that. But I think it's also interesting to hear, how does the person who actually put together the framework for
mm.
L&D look at his or her own L&D?
Yes, definitely. Personally, I subscribe to journals. I attend seminars to hear other people's experience. I learn from people. I read up, and I have my own group of classmates from my master's class. I did my master's in industrial organization of psychology and HR, and I have this very close group of classmates and friends that we maintain contact and we will ask. And I also have and I graduated with a HR degree. So again, I have my own network where we can ask each other on things like that, just to bounce off ideas, test out our hypothesis sometimes, right? And of course, retail, being in retail. So I have to understand the retail trend as well. So we can marry how HR works in a retail setting. So we know that retail is very dynamic, it's very fast moving. The trends so different now from the olden days of retail. So now where you have your augmented AR, the reality, your VR, you have your online to offline, your omni channels. So the consumer behavior change. And then how does our people keep up to do that as well, right? So our people also have to learn all the different technology, the different platform, cashless payment. So those are things that is very exciting, right? So retail is never boring. Same like HR, it's never boring. There's always things that don't come, that they'll come to us as a surprise at times. And then you have to react. You have to do situational management. Yeah. So it is actually fun in that way.
Good to know that. And one last question. How do you see the future of
Mm.
HR in retail and also the retail industry over the next 3 to 5 years? What are some of the
Mm.
trends and innovation that you're excited about or preparing for? You mentioned about AR.
Mm.
Are there any other aspect that you believe would be interesting for retail industry to explore? And how would HR play a part in that?
So for retail and HR, I think one of the trend definitely is data analytics, right? System automation. So HR, I think for me, I like to use data a lot as well in terms of looking at, say, for example, I give an example of staff turnover, right? So we know that if you talk about predictics, then sometimes people will say, hey, there's always this trend. People who join of this profile of this by fourth year, this person would tender, right? So then can you put in an intervention plan to hold the person longer than the fourth year? Can you do something at the third year, for example? Data analytics, I think, is important. For retail, likewise, data analytics is important because the demographic of a consumer change, the consumer preference. So all these things is when you analyze the pattern, then how then can we give to our consumer the items that meet their needs, right? The product, the services that meet their needs. So that's very key as well. So data analytics to me is an important thing. And also, I suppose, technology, automation. So HR, from the days of when I first started, so much into machine learning, deep learning, and the system. So again, how can we automate so that we reduce all the administrators and get our team to do more value added work, right? Engaging with our people, taking care of people rather than stuck at their desk trying to fill out forms, right? And can we automate some of all this process? And actually, it helps as well in terms of when they do less paperwork and they free up the team to do more value added work. It benefits them in their own growth as HR professional as well. So that's how I see in some of those major things that's going to happen in the future. Or rather, it's happening, but I think it will get even more significant.
Awesome. And before we let you go, for people who is keen to learn more about yourself as well as Yuan Sang, where can they go to?
To know Yuan Sang, we definitely have our website. For me, I have my LinkedIn that you can connect with me as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Vicky, for coming onto the show today to share more with us about your experience within the retail industry as a HR, and also what are some of the interesting insights, stories, as well as dispelling some of the misconceptions that people may have about retail industry at large. It is ultimately one of the key driver within our economy. In fact, not just for ours, but many of other different countries. And I think this would be a great way for us to understand the potential behind it, as well as some of the growth engine that one can look at within the retail industry. And with that, thank you so much for coming
Thank
onto
you
the
so
show.
much for having me. Thank you.